The DNS is divided. It's a distributed system because it's divided among many servers. So we have these zones. The DNS space is divided into zones. So, for example, the com domain is managed by a particular DNS server. Yes.
So, if I'm accessing google.com and this is sent to one of the routers or a switch, how does that switch know where to route this information in order to find the domain name server that I need to translate, because it needs the IP address, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just explaining earlier to him. We already know the IP address of the DNS server. That's part of the network configuration. As soon as we get our own IP address for our machine, it comes with address for DNS server and with address for default router, default gate. So the first thing we're gonna do is send a TCP packet to the DNS server using the DNS IP address. And inside the packet, we're gonna say, who is google.com? Give me their address. If the DNS server is alive, it's going to respond with the address of Google. If it's not alive, we're not going to get anything. We will be unable to connect to Google because we don't know the address. If the DNS is spoofed, it might send us an incorrect address of Google, and we will end up connecting to somebody else that we think it's Google, but it's not. Well, we always have the DNS address in our network configuration. So it's divided into zones because we don't want to have these things in a single place. We don't want to put all of our eggs in the same basket, so we divide it into multiple zones. Each zone, which is represented by a circle, is handled by a separate DNS server. So if we want to get the address of cisco.com, we're going to have to go to this particular DNS server. So let's see. Okay, very good. So DNS was one of the applications, one of the systems which is sitting in the application layer out of all these protocols. Another one that we talked about is the email. So the SIPO mail transfer protocol is for handling emails. Let's see how they work. So this is another protocol sitting in the application layer for electronic mail. So the email has become popular because it has been used for several decades now, and it has completely taken over the regular postal mail because it's faster and simpler and easier to use and cheaper. Some other applications that have taken over is instant messages and voice over IP, which are network applications replacing the regular telephone services. But let's see how the email works. have two parts to it. We have a sending agent or client, also called user agent, and we have a message transfer agent, which is the email server. So we have two parts to it. User agent allows, this is the user interface for the users, which allows them to send and receive emails and to view emails, to read them. Read, send, modify messages, delete them, and so on. What you would normally see in your email box. Reply, search, organize. And then we have the message transfer agent. This is the server, email server. They will move the messages from source to destination using the SMTP protocol, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. All of these protocols are usually defined in something called RFC, which is a formal document called Request for Clarification that will define what the protocols do. In other words, what are the commands that the client can issue to the server, and what are the responses that the server can send back to the client. So the user agent, the user will type an email, he will send it to a message transfer agent, which is an email server. If the receiving user resides on this message server or email server, in other words, has a mailbox in this mail server, then the message will stop there and be received. Otherwise, it gets forwarded to the correct email server, and this way the receiving party can get the message. Let's see the protocols, how the protocol looks like. So some example commands. The way the protocol is implemented is by following the standard letter format, because remember, the email replaced the regular letters that we send in the mail. So they have an address of sender, address of receiver, and then some message which follows. So we have an envelope, and inside the envelope is the actual message. For email, there are additional parameters which stay in what's called a header, such as the dates, the time, the subject, and other information for that email. So, to whom it was sent, from whom it was sent, return path, All of these things are defined in this formal document called request for qualification. So these are part of the email header. There's more to it. The date, date, time, any keywords, the subject, and so on. Something else called mime. Mime is used for emails, which is the multi-purpose internet mail extensions because this will allow us to send emails in languages other than English language. So for example, French or German or Chinese or some language that has accents or different type of alphabet. It also allows for things other than text to be sent. So it allows for audio and video to be sent, or for pictures, or for even applications and binaries to be sent. So all of these things, if we want to send them through email, will be defined in these multi-purpose extensions. So let's see what they can be. Text. It could be plain text, HTML, or some other formatting, such as XML or cascading style sheets. Images. What types of images? JPEG, TIFF, GIF, and so on. What types of audio? MP3s, MPEG, and video, and so on. If it's an application, it's called octet stream. It could be a message which contains multiple types mixed together. Then it will be called multi-part. So MIME defines these in order to be able to send them through email. Let's see how it actually works with the SMTP protocol. The first thing that happens with SMTP is the sender establishes a connection to the receiver, which is the email server. He establishes a TCP connection on port 25. So this port is used for emails. In other words, the email daemon or server is sitting there and listening, or it's bound to this port, and is waiting on incoming connections for new emails to be received. So listening on that port is an SMTP daemon or server. Mail server, which speaks or understands the SMTP protocol. It accepts connections and it's waiting to receive emails and to deliver emails. The client, according to this protocol, will use ASCII commands example, hello. That's one of the commands. As a matter of fact, before we send anything, it will say hello. So let's assume that this is what we want to send. From Alice at computerscience.washington.edu to Bob at another university in Australia. The MIME version is one, content type most part, subject Earth orbits the sun. And then the message starts happy birthday to you. It's in HTML format. So the client will establish connection to the server